welcome. I'm going to start doing kind of a tips and tricks session and maybe give some ideas for things that you can do in your classroom. And this tip and trick goes mainly for the science teachers because it has to deal with the science fair. Now, if you are a teacher who runs a long project, this might be something that you can kind of listen to and get some ideas, but it is specifically science fair related. So, love it or hate it, science fair is something that a lot of schools require. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for students to showcase their interests. But it's also a time when the science teacher is dragging 75% of their class through a project they don't want to do. You have about 25% who are actually interested, if you're lucky, and the others just aren't going to do it. So I've changed it around a little bit. Instead of trying to shove everything into a 2-week session right before, right after winter break, I actually start the science fair the first week of school. My school is on a 4-day week, so we go extra long days, but we only go Monday through Thursday. So when I say I do stuff on Thursday, you could replace it with Friday. So the first month and a half of school, every Thursday is science fair stuff. It's 6th and 7th grade that has to do science fair. And I don't teach 6th grade science, so I'm focusing mainly on 7th grade here. So every Thursday is science fair. And the first Thursday, I have them sit down and I give them a document on Google Drive in Google Classroom, and it has 3 places for an overarching topic. Something they like. Now, you are going to be battling with those students who just want to come up with a science fair question. And I've had students actually just Google winning science fair projects. And I'm like, if it's already won, why do it again? Okay? So, they need to give me 3 overarching topics that they're interested in. It can be animals. It can be music. I try to avoid video games because that's just an excuse for them to play a video game and tell their parents it's homework. So I usually say no video game unless they can come up with actual questions. So 3 overarching topics. They have to come up with 5 questions. These are not science fair questions, and you have to keep pounding that into their heads. These are things that they actually want to know about that topic. So, why is the sky blue? Okay, if somebody's interested in the weather, one question might be, why is the sky blue? Okay, they come up with their 5 questions. That is their first turn-in document. And I try and pad the beginning of the year with easy grades, easy for me to grade, and easy for them to get the points. So that's like 10 points. Then they have to go through and they have to answer the questions that they've asked. They go onto Google, they do some research, and they find out if they can answer that question. So, can you find out why the sky looks blue? That is one that they can answer. So they have to replace that question that they've answered with another one that they're interested in. And this goes until they have 5 questions for each of their 3 topics, so 15 questions total, that they cannot Google the answer to, but that they are interested in. This part usually takes about 2 weeks, and I do it in class, because you will have kids say, can I build a robot? That's not a question. Yes, if you have a packaged parts, you can build a robot. You want to come up with, can I build a robot that does something better than this package deal that you can buy? What is it you want it to do? So you do have to kind of steer them with their questions. So first week, They come up with their 3 topics and their first 5 questions for each topic. Second and third weeks, you are narrowing it down and they're coming up with 15 questions that they are interested in, that they can't answer, and it can't be, can I do something? It has to be a question about the topic. After that, they pick their top 5. And here's where you kind of have to get creative because you need to meet with each student. And so you have the rest of the class doing a worksheet, unfortunately, or doing some kind of research project, or doing something where you can talk one-on-one with each student. And they come up and they've got their 5 favorite questions. And this probably will take about 2 weeks to get through. And you talk with them and you're like, okay, what are your 2 favorite questions out of these 5? And they'll usually point them out. And then you look at them and you talk with them about a way to change those where it's either a design project or it is a testable science fair project. And then you give them, I'm in Colorado, so I would give them the sheet of paper from the Colorado packet that talks about writing their research proposal. And once they've got their topic figured out, I give them that and they start writing their research proposal based on those 6 top questions. I really try and steer kids away from animal and human type tests. It's really upsetting to the student when they put a lot of time and effort into planning some type of test and their classmates don't show up to help them with it. So I try and steer them away from that. This is a ranching community, so there are some animal tests that work out really well. But again, you have to have the vet sign off, and because a lot of people around here have closer relationships to the veterinarian, it's not quite as bad as other places. And so once everyone gets their research proposals done, you look at their research proposals, you get them the parent information to have their parents sign off, you figure out which ones need to do it at school. If somebody's doing a swab or something, I help teach them how to pour the agar plates, and I keep them in the school. Some chemical reactions we do in my classroom instead of at the home, but other than that, it's pretty much, up to them. The goal is by Thanksgiving, again, the goal is the majority of the students have their data. There will be some students who are working with plants who will take longer. And you talk with them, you talk with their parent, they know they're going to have to finish up over winter break, but they can, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, get the majority of their posters set up. We have trifolds that we just reuse year after year. The students just put butcher paper over them and it looks nice and neat and it works. So between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they put their stuff on documents, we get it all printed out, and they assemble their posters, and then they practice the last week before winter break doing presentations. The first couple of months, it does take that day a week away, but it seems to even out, and it's so much less stressful. So, if you are doing science fair, you may think about starting it early. Instead of just having the students Google a science fair project, have them work through the questions, because 99% of the time they are happier with the topic they've come up with this way, even though they will hate the process. They will cry, they will whine, they will whinge, they will hate it. But when you talk to them afterwards, they are so much happier with their topic. And so it is worth listening to them complain, because they are usually excited about doing that. So instead of you having to drag everyone in your class, except for those few who actually want to do it, through the science fair, you're only dragging 5%. The rest of them are actually excited, and that makes your life so much easier. So you start with the questions, you narrow it down to things that they can't just Google You have them pick their top 5, and then out of those, you try and figure out what is either a design or a test experiment that is doable for science fair. So I hope that this helps, and let me know in the comments if you try this and you find it useful. And thank you again for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.